Hi, my name is Isabella Gelbard, and this is my mom.
Hi, I'm MC Gelbard.
And she was living in New York during the 9/11 attack, so I'm going to be interviewing her about that and asking her some questions. So, my first question is, where were you when you first heard about the attacks or saw them happen?
I lived on 27th and 3rd Avenue, and I was in my apartment. And I walked downstairs to go get coffee. It was around the first plane. I went down to get coffee when the first plane hit the towers. And when I was buying the coffee, a bunch of people, we heard a noise and then came out and saw smoke in the air. But we had no idea what was going on.
Okay, that's really scary. What was your immediate reaction?
Again, I didn't really know what was going on until, so I went back upstairs. And I turned on the TV, and my parents happened to call me. They were, at that time, they were in Nicaragua, and they told me, as we were talking, the second plane hit the towers, and we were talking, and then my brother and sister were living in Washington, D.C., and then the plane
The Pentagon.
hit the Pentagon. So I was, it was very scary because I had siblings in D.C., and at that time, actually, even as the second plane was hitting the towers, it was not clear what was happening. Then when the plane hit the Pentagon, then it was even scarier because I knew something bigger was going on, but it was still, everyone was sort of gathering information.
And did you personally know anyone that was affected, either a family member was passed away or someone that passed away?
I knew a lot of people who had friends and colleagues that were in the towers. I knew people that lost their loved ones. Not anybody personally very closely, but certainly acquaintances and acquaintances that had lost people.
How did the events change your day, week, and month?
The first day was we were told to go find shelter. I went to a friend's house that was a little further, I think, uptown. We all sort of hunkered down and were watching the news, trying to just make sense of what was happening. There was it was difficult to get in touch with people because the day of 9/11, the cell towers, it was very difficult to get in touch with people, and I was grateful to have gotten in touch with my siblings and my parents and let them know I was okay. The weeks that followed, there was a number of evacuations as there was bomb threats around the city, and that required us or me to leave my apartment and then walk just uptown, sort of directionless. Just we were being instructed to leave and away from the threatened bomb site.
How did it affect your feelings about your own personal safety and travel?
I think obviously in the immediate term, it was really scary to think about traveling. I think that was I was working in consulting at the time, and I was very scared to be put on a plane. Fortunately, that didn't happen for a while. I think then from personal safety, it was unsettling not knowing if this could happen again. There was a lot of just uncertainty and fear, just generally anything that sort of looked like terrorists. It was more like on guard. Everyone was on guard. I was on guard. Yeah.
And adding on to that, did you ever feel like your personal safety was ever like at risk, or
Like me as a
yeah,
person,
like
as an individual?
did you ever feel like really threatened after that?
Not as an individual, more of as just being in New York. I felt like I would be just living in New York itself caused me to be more fearful versus I remember thinking, well, maybe I should just move to like the middle of the United States. But I never felt like I was being personally targeted.
What long-term changes have you noticed in the country since then?
Well, certainly just travel in general changed drastically. I remember being able to board a plane with very limited security, and that all changed significantly. I remember feeling much better as those things got put in place. Just the general rebuilding of New York, and it was really nice to see people coming together at the same time. Like, the tragedy brought a lot of people together. Everyone in the city felt a lot closer. I imagine people everywhere felt much more close together, just because we were all had experienced something very scary, and I think that brings people together. I think there was great pride in being an American, and so that was at the same time like a nice thing to see coming out of such a horrible, scary event.
Right.
The coming together, the patriotism. I ran a year after the 9/11. I ran the Marine Corps Marathon in DC, and that was really overwhelming because we ran around the crash, the Pentagon site crash, and we had military people running, Army folks running, and it was just really, really incredible. But so I think the major changes were obviously the impact on travel and the security. And yeah, I do remember this feeling of great patriotism at the same time.
What do you think that I need to know that I haven't asked you yet?
Well, I think, we're experiencing today similar. What I didn't mention was there was also, at the same time that there was great pride and patriotism around being an American, I think we had also an incredible, backlash against anyone anyone of, you know, Muslim descent, and that was really hard, because there was just generalizations on people, and the hatred that comes out of that, I think is really difficult and challenging to deal with, and we're living with that, you know, today on a daily basis, you know, racism and just feelings of fear against others, you know, attacking the United States. So just I think it's important just to remember that people are, when we think about our enemies, quote unquote, there's people within, like, it's not a general thing that you can just think about a whole population, a whole country, and just thinking about the individuals within that country. So that's what I would say, encourage, like, finding out more information about anything that seems scary, and just being educated and finding out more information.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.